The Prime Ministers of St. Lucia and Dominica agree on creating a regional airline based on private sector partnership. The first ever E911 system is launched here and a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of 45 Rolex watches costing just under $2 million. I'm Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. The details after this. We begin in tourism, where sustainable tourism practices and emerging trends are among main issues discussed at the State of the Tourism Industry Conference in Barbados this week. Idona John Baptist is in Barbados and files this report.
Government officials, academics, and stakeholders are sharing ideas on the way forward for the Caribbean tourism industry. Dominica will take away some lessons from the State of the Tourism Industry Conference as Tourism Minister Senator Robert Tong and Tourism Director Colin Piper joined the meeting in Barbados. The Caribbean Tourism Organization, which hosts SOTIC, considers it the not-to-be-missed tourism conference for anyone involved in the industry. Delegates are gathering at this forum with a level of optimism given the projection for tourist arrivals in the Caribbean this year. The immediate past chairman of the CTO and Barbados Tourism Minister Richard Sealy told the official opening ceremony of SOTIC Wednesday night the Caribbean can expect 30 million visitors despite ongoing challenges in the industry.
The other thing, of course, that we've had to deal with in present day, and not so much in the past, is the competition from other regions, the Pacific, Asia, the Middle East, and yes, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, have all emerged offering competition to the product that we provide in the region. It is therefore, in my opinion, very encouraging that in the face of all of this, the region saw 28.7 million visitors in 2015. That was an increase of 7% over 2014, and in fact was a record in terms of number of arrivals to the region. 2016 is pacing ahead of 2015, and for the first time we will see 30 million visitors to the region.
Secretary General of the CTO, Hugh Riley, said that he expects every delegate to leave the conference with clearer perceptions and workable solutions.
And what is the state of Caribbean tourism? The short answer is that it is encouraging, but nowhere near where we should be if we are to recognize and realize our full potential. According to our CTO research department, the Caribbean is on track for another banner year of arrivals.
CEO of Sandals Resort International, Adam Stewart, and President of Air Canada, Craig Landry, are the conference's keynote speakers. Reporting from the Hilton Hotel in Barbados, Idona John Baptist for Channel 5 News.
And St. Lucian Prime Minister Alan Chastanet agrees with Prime Minister Skerritt on at least one matter, and that's supporting the idea of creating an airline through private sector partnership. Prime Minister Chastanet spoke to Channel 5 News reporter Idona John Baptist and other regional media representatives in Barbados this week. Here's part of that interview.
The current Prime Minister of Dominica has suggested that the private sector should partner in terms of exploring the possibility of air transportation within the region. What is your position on this?
I agree, but if we're going to do that, then we have to free up the private sector to do that. We have a civil aviation authority that is an impediment. So here you have in the OECS, which is a population of 750,000 people, we have one commercial airline. The Bahamas has a population of 350,000 people, and they have 25 commercial airlines operating within the Bahamas. So the fundamental difference is our Civil Aviation Authority has blocked every single attempt for private sector initiatives to take place. So if we're going to do that, then we have to make sure that those institutions are working fairly and to the best interest of the people of this region.
Challenges facing intra-regional travel continue to be high on the agenda of the State of the Tourism Industry Conference. Chastanet says St. Lucia is moving ahead with an alternative airline.
As I've said, I don't have any grievance against Liat. I just feel that, and I don't think anybody can argue with me, that inter-regional travel is difficult. And the cost of inter-regional traveling, and nobody can sit here and say that Liat is fulfilling all the expectations of the region. So if we have countries with different ideas in terms of how we're going to move forward, we're going to do so. So in the case of St. Lucia, we are looking at an alternative in terms of opening up the market. And once those discussions are concluded, we will make an announcement. But I'm certainly not going to sit here and allow St. Lucia to continue to be held at ransom by one airline.
Back here at home, the first ever E911 system in the ECTEL member states has been launched. Andrea Louis has more.
The Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, ECTEL, which was established in 2000, consists of 5 OECS member states and serves as a regulatory body for telecommunications in those countries. Just under 10 jobs will be created in Dominica with the establishment of this $1.8 million E911 system, and other ECTEL member states will be looking to pattern a similar system in their own country soon.
This new venture will create at least 8 direct jobs, new jobs, and new skill sets, not only at the public safety answering point, but in maintaining, modifying, and improving this technology to better adapt it to our conditions as we move forward. The responsible use of data from the system by using data analytics to transform this data into useful information that will steer and guide government policies for the betterment of the nation. This E911 is the first in the ECTEL state, and other states are looking closely at the effectiveness of the system for implementation. I think we definitely need to be proud that Dominica is the first, and we will continue to move so. This system is new, and we therefore crave the public's indulgence, as there will be a slight learning curve.
The minister emphasized that there will be significant enhancements for emergency responders and emergency facilities through this E911 system.
The center will be moving to roll out a separate and independent network with increased fault tolerance and improved robustness for our first responders. This network will consist of multiple transmission paths, ensuring that during any disaster, our first responders and emergency facilities will be in constant communication, by reducing the chances of dark or dead zones during a disaster. The Princess Margaret Hospital is integrated with this system, allowing the provision of timely data about accidents that require the preparation for incoming patients. Police vehicles and police stations in the rural areas will be integrated with the PSAP.
The National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, played a vital role in ensuring this development of the E911 system.
The National Emergency Response Center is operated by the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, and it is predicated upon this 911 system. The 911 system cost $1.8 million, which we in the NTRC, through the USF, we have provided these funds. This compares very favorably with the system in Antigua that cost $8 million. The system not only will allow the dispatch of various emergency services, but the system also allows the generation of a number of reports. For instance, you may want to know how many crank calls you're getting.
Meantime, Dominicans have been assured that the emergency 911 system can ensure the public's safety and well-being.
The 911 Emergency Response Center will serve as a central hub to responding to all emergencies. It is the responsibility of the government to secure lives and property, and this improved system is a step in the right direction.
The minister says the implementation of this E911 system is ensuring Dominica is among countries making strides in the information technology field in the Caribbean.
That this government continues to create an enabling environment for the adoption of e-government services over the past few years with increasing success. According to the United Nations 2016 e-government ranking in small island developing states, Dominica was singled out as making significant gains in e-government development. The report went on to state that in the 2016 survey, Dominica was among 4 countries that made the biggest jump in the rankings. We look forward to even greater success in technological development as we continue to roll out e-government initiatives.
The Minister for National Security warned against abusing the resources available through this E911 facility.
I want at this point to call on the cooperation of all of us Dominican to only call the 911 number in genuine cases of emergency. Let me say it again. To only call the 911 number in genuine cases of emergency. The 911 is only for emergency cases. Whenever a false call is made, resources and attention are diverted to someone who has a genuine emergency situation.
This project started approximately 18 months ago, and Venture's cable and wireless business also played their part in ensuring the creation of this E911 system.
At 1.8 million, I'm sure you will ask yourself, well, that's a lot of money. But to be honest, 1.8 million really gave us the basic solution to allow our citizenry to get the opportunity to tap into an emergency system that allows them to feel safe, to feel that there is a respondent service that can understand their needs at the given time and can assist them via the police, via the fire station, via the health services and practitioners.
In other news now, the Housing Loans Board has granted over $10 million in loans to new applicants following the recent reduction in interest rates in April. Deslyn Joseph has more.
The board's chairman, Felix Thomas, told Channel 5 News since April he has received 72 new applications.
Overall, there are a number of applications that are piling up now. I think that figure is somewhere in the region of some 27 that we have not yet actually dealt with. And we hope what we are putting in place now is what we call a strategy known as the capital yield strategy, to ensure that gradually we can meet the demands of public officers who are desirous of having loans from the Government Housing Loans Board.
A new strategy is currently being worked on to gradually meet public officers' demands. Felix says when the board was taken over by the Dominican Labour Party administration in the year 2000, there was a capital yield of $20,000 and less than $1.5 million in loans. However, to date, he says the board can speak of a portfolio of $50 million.
As the demands continue to be made available, we will spare no effort in ensuring that we can get the right source of funding, the conducive finances to ensure that we can keep interest rates low and make it available to public officers.
Thomas says, although the board wishes that interest rates could be at its lowest, there is a cost to financing.
You are watching Channel 5 News. Coming up, the Kalinagos commemorate a significant historical event. Thank you for staying with us. Jewelers International is offering a $50,000 reward for any information leading to the recovery of the valuable watches stolen back in May. Crime Stoppers has come on board to assist in retrieving the 45 Rolex watches with an estimated value of over $1.8 million.
We have found that Dominicans have not expressed any interest in the reward. Nobody has called back to ask if they're, even in the cases where arrests were made, nobody has called back to ask, all right, was my call successful, was an arrest made? Dominicans don't seem to be, at this point, interested in the reward aspect of Crime Stoppers. They want to solve the crime. That's the only way we can interpret it, because we have had no request for rewards up to this point in time. I hope in this case we will.
Parrish said that best surveillance here in Dominica in solving crime is the eye of every citizen.
No crime is committed in isolation. Somebody knows something. And we are saying, if you know, make a call and give the information. But yes, I'll advise property owners, homeowners. I have a friend, he leaves his vehicle open, the window is down, his computer is on the seat, his keys on the switch, and sometimes he leaves his wallet in the vehicle. And I said, boy, I cannot understand you. What kind of man you are? He said, boy, you see, I grew up with a bad habit. We didn't have lock on our front door. When we go to church, we just push the door. When I never grew up closing up anything. And I said to him, you're living in different times.
Meanwhile, businessman Yvonne Asif explained the terms and conditions of the reward.
Such reward will be subject to usual conditions and recovery of the watches. Reward for partial recovery will be on the same basis but pro rata. In order to ensure the identity of the persons who provide information would never be known, we have engaged Crime Stoppers to receive the tips and administer the reward. Their track record globally and in Dominica in these matters is very well known. Those with information leading to the recovery of the stolen watches are therefore asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS or 1-800-8477 or submit a tip online to www.crimestoppersdominica.org.
And the Minister for Culture has appealed to the public to set aside political, religious and personal issues and look at the bigger picture. Justina Charles made the statement while addressing the media launch of independence celebrations this week. She said Dominicans should work collectively to rebuild the nation devastated by Tropical Storm Erica.
Let us all recommit ourselves to the task of nation building. The task of nation building are many and varied. They cover all spheres, the economic, political, social, spiritual, and of course, cultural areas. As individuals, we are called upon to play our part, to contribute our skills, our talents, our professional training to the ongoing task of rebuilding.
The minister said the question should be, what contribution have we made to the rebuilding process?
Have we reflected on the effect our behavior can bear on our economy and ultimately on our own development? As citizens, we must continuously demonstrate a high level of patriotism, pride, and love for country. This can be demonstrated in simple and inexpensive ways.
She made the point that our rich, entertaining, and unique culture was very marketable. The bravery of the Kalinagos when they lost lives back in 1930 in a 1930 clash, standing against the colonial police, will be commemorated in a special way on Monday. 19th September 1930 is a day embedded in the archives of Kalinago history as a day of unfair and unnecessary treatment by the then authorities. The movement of goods and people between the Kalinago territory and the French territories, while based on a viable and amicable agreement, was deemed illegal by the then powers that be.
And at that point of our history, our sovereign rights were infringed upon by the government system at the time. And so on September 19th, 1930, police officers of African descent came within the borders of the Kalinago territory in search of what they deemed to be illegal activity, smuggling of goods from the French departments. So the Kalinago Week, it's a time within our history where we remember the happenings of 1930, because lives were lost in 1930 on September 19th, when Kalinago brothers fell and died for a cause that they believed in.
Cultural officer in the Ministry of Kalinago Affairs says special focus will be placed on the children in the territory to ensure this aspect of their indigenous history is not lost.
We will be encouraging the schools to observe History Week, to have classes, videos, lectures relating to our history. And in the evening of that same day, we will go on sites where exact area where the incident took place, and we'll have a recounting of the events, like a storytelling, and people will give the experience, and we'll have a smoke ceremony in honor of our past leaders, but also honoring our present and future leaders.
That's news. Kenny Williams is next with your sports highlights.
First up, former West Indies Cricket Board CEO Donald Peters is of the opinion that the call by former WICB officials for a forensic audit of the company is not necessary. He says the focus should be on reviewing the governance of the board.
Yeah, I understood that former leaders of WICB called for a forensic audit. I find that interesting because as CEO of West Indies Cricket, there is always transparency in terms of the financial responsibility of the institution. It is a public registered company, and as such, we ensured that we had Pete Mawick and as a chartered accountants to bring independence to our accounts. So that was never an issue. And I'm sure that the West Indies Cricket Board have continued to do that. I read their statements in the public domain at all times. So I'm not sure what the agenda of the people who are asking for it, not one of those that have signed on to it. So I think that is just another fishing journey in terms of West Indies Cricket. I think no one wants to deal with what is wrong with West Indies Cricket. And that has to do with governance.
Operating as a public trading company could be the answer for the board moving forward.
I think the disconnect in West Indies cricket relative to the rest of the world is that, except probably Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, who have some of the same problems, is that the West Indies cricket is an independent franchise. It's a sports franchise run by a company called West Indies Cricket Board. This construct of that board is in itself inherently flawed, because there's a representative form of control. It's not a board to make cricket successful. It is representative. West Indies cricket is sometimes lost as people try to do the best they can to ensure that the representation and their territories are represented. That structure cannot work and will never work. So what we need is, if West Indies board in the future would decide to make themselves into a public trading company and get board of directors, say 6 people who have nothing to do with cricket or region, and then run the franchise.
Next up, the national sports policy has been reviewed and should be implemented by the year's end. This according to Sports Minister Justina Charles.
We engaged Mr. Joseph Thomas to review the sports policy, because we know the sports policy has been lying there for a long time. So we definitely looking at reviewing the sports policy. So he's done the work, had consultation and all of the discussion with the various stakeholders. He has submitted to the ministry his own findings and the recommendations that came forth. What we've also done is to extract again a smaller group to review some of the recommendations that he brought forward, and we have gotten feedback from the people who reviewed it to see what are the areas that we would like change in the Act, in the Sports Act, and all of those.
She says the next step is to get Cabinet's approval before its implementation.
We are now going to do is to prepare a document to take to Cabinet. So as soon as we take it to Cabinet, so Cabinet can ratify, and then we can prepare any change of the Act over to take to Parliament. But we are moving, it should have been completed already, but I am hoping that we can complete that before the end of the year too. That's our target.
Cycling takes us from Roseau all the way to Layu and back, as the local governing body on the sport puts on a competition on Sunday. Head of the association, Ronald Charles, says he hopes to make it an annual event.
Any possibility of seeing this event happening or being repeated next year?
Of course. A matter of fact, as we're moving forward, we are hoping it's not all of the events that would have that kind of magnitude, but we are hoping, for example, we'll be going on our Sunday rides. We'll be having events separate and apart from the one that we're having. For matter of fact, even as I said, next year, we're looking at the big OECS championship. Again, that is in its planning stage, so we're hoping to be able to have that. But of course, we will see a lot of little races like this, and then hoping that the sport develops.
On to football, where 4 matches are on this weekend in the 2016 Flow DFA Premier League, 2 of which are carded for Winter Park for the first time since the league started this year. Gerald George is the DFA's PRO.
On Saturday, Bafested Football Club will come up against Petro Caribe Point Michel at the Dubla playing field, while at the Benjamin Park it will be Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers versus Waukee Rollers. Both matches begin at 4 p.m. On Sunday, defending champions Central Cooperative Credit Union Dubla Football Club will be hoping for better results this time around when they take on Middleham United at 3 p.m. and in the first match of a doubleheader at the Wilson Park Stadium. In the second match, Exodus Football Club will battle Sajiko Southeast at 5 p.m.
Meantime, in a letter addressed to the DFA boss Glenn Etienne, football referee Carlisle John Baptist indicated that he was the victim of multiple verbal assaults from president of the Harlem side, Don Leogal. The incident occurred in the game between the Caribbean Cool Harlem and the Middleham United team's most recent match. Leogal told Mappin News he would give feedback on the matter once he was in receipt of the letter and obtain a response from the DFA. Meanwhile, in speaking with Channel 5 Sports, DFA President Glenn Etienne says he received the letter from John Baptist and the matter is now before the disciplinary committee. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Have yourself an awesome weekend.
Coming up, your weekend weather forecast.
Hello, welcome to your weather. I'll be your presenter, Farah Rock-Curry. Let's go into some infrared satellite imagery. And what it shows is the convection associated with weak unstable conditions across the Lesser Antilles, which produce generally cloudy skies across the Lesser Antilles today, and also some scattered showers across the islands as well as in the Atlantic. A flood watch is in effect. Weak unstable conditions is expected to produce generally cloudy skies with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms for tonight as well as tomorrow. Residents in areas prone to flooding, landslides and fallen rocks, you are asked to exercise caution. Let's take a look now at the marine forecast. Sea conditions will be slight to moderate. Waves will be up to 5 feet and the second high tide will be at 4:46 p.m. Let's take a look now at the weekend's weather. Tomorrow, Saturday, generally cloudy skies with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. A relative improvement is expected Sunday into Monday with an increase in wind speeds and also temperatures. They are expected to peak up to 32 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look now at the weather for the Caribbean. Well, generally cloudy skies are expected across the Lesser Antilles with thunderstorm activity expected for the central portion of the islands with Dominica included. Let's take a look now at the forecast for the international cities. Again, thunderstorm expected for the city of Caracas. The cities of London and Beijing can expect overcast skies, while New York will enjoy clear skies and Miami partly cloudy skies. The sun will rise tomorrow at 5:54 a.m. and will set at 6:05 p.m. Please remember we are in hurricane season. Feel free to visit our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Join us next time for your next weather broadcast. Thank you.
A reminder of the headlines. The Prime Ministers of St. Lucia and Dominica agree on creating a regional airline based on private sector partnership. The first ever E911 system is launched here, and a $50,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of 45 Rolex watches costing just under $2 million. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris, and to our viewers around the world, thank you for watching.